Hey everyone, it's Rochelle here with Losing It on Keto. And in this video, I'm going to go through my weigh-in results and share some data with you, as well as a number of other things. We'll get into it. It's been a while since I've done a video like this, but I did get some feedback that some viewers felt that it was helpful. So I decided to resume them. They certainly helped me. And I've always said on this channel that if any of my videos can help at least one person, I'm willing to put in the effort. So hence I'm making this video. So let's get into it. So what I wanted to cover is my weigh-in results. Today's the 1st, so I have my November results, and then I want to compare them to prior reboots, etc. And then talk to you about macros and such. I want to cover the effects that dairy may or may not be having. And then I thought it would be helpful. I haven't done this before outside of, isolated meal plans. But I actually went back from all the time I've been tracking in this reboot and have a variety of meal plans of how I incorporate those recipes into my macro/meal plans. And so I thought that would help you, because then you can correlate the recipe videos that I am making and posting and how I'm putting them to use in my meal plans. So I've got a number of those to cover here, a good number actually, because it's spanning more than 2 months. So that's actually going to be the bulk of this video. So let's get to the data. So as I've done in prior weight loss journeys, fat loss journeys, I did not weigh myself at the outset. My mindset always is I'm motivated to start, and typically there's a lot of false starts before I get going. And so I'm motivated to start. Why would I want to depress myself with weighing myself? It's like, I already know my clothes aren't fitting well. I already know I don't feel well. So let's just get to it, start feeling better. And then you get the courage to get on the scale. And so that was this case this time around as well. So I started September 17th, but I actually didn't weigh in until, well, actually this time it was only 2 weeks. I weighed in on October 1st, but I didn't weigh in on September 17th. So I took all of October to track the data to see how I did, what I lost in those 30 days or 31 days, and hence what you see here. So the November 1st weigh-in, I lost 10.3 pounds, and now this December 1st weigh-in, which spans all of November, was 9.8 pounds for a total of 20.1 pounds. And so that's an average of 10.05 pounds. So, so far so good. The other thing I wanted to comment about this time, this reboot, is that I started right from a 2-week water fast. I haven't done that before that I can recall. Normally, yeah, I will do a fast, but I don't then go right into my PSMF way of eating that I recall. So I think this is the first time. And the reason why I do that is because I know that after a fast, I know my body needs a little bit of readjustment. And so I know it's not a good time to track weight. But here I felt I absolutely needed to do that fast, because I've shared in some of the videos that this year, I don't know what happened. I went back to eating carbs. I went back to a sad diet. I mean, I know what was going on, but basically I lost my mind. I hadn't eaten any of that since 2018. So there were a number of stressors that happened this year. I'm making no excuses. I'm just explaining. And so I actually gained back all the weight I had lost. And sadly, that has been kind of my yo-yo pattern. I know many of us yo-yo. But my mindset on this is, yeah, it happened. I would rather reboot and lose the weight um, than ever give in. You know, so I have like friends and family members say, oh, this yo-yo dieting is not good for you. And my response always is, yeah, I would prefer not to. But, you know, if I gain back weight, I wanna lose it. I don't wanna just stop. So I would rather yo-yo than settle having gained weight. Now, of course, the goal is here to eliminate the yo-yos, and I thought I was in really good condition last year. I thought I had beat it, but it's just another lesson learned. Don't let your guard down. So anyways, so consequently, like I said, what's different here is doing this right off you know, starting to weigh in and such right after a 2-week water fast, and knowing that the body's adjusting a bit. And I have water fasted so often that I know, do not attempt to use a water fast to lose weight. There is a rebound effect. But because I got going here, I didn't have that rebound effect. But I do know that if you don't commit to a program after an extended water fast, there can be a rebound effect. And not can be, there, for me, there always is. But because I committed to this, that didn't happen this time. So what else about the data? So of course, when I see what results I got this time, I wanted to see how do they compare to prior times that I've you know, been on a fat loss journey. And for you guys that have followed the channel, you know I track my data pretty well. And so the good news is I have that to be able to reference back, and it's one of the reasons why I have my own data. It's one of the reasons why I never committed to like Chronometer or something like that, because I wanted my own data. And now when you factor in, so what I have highlighted here is when you factor in the period of time that is consistent with, hey, I didn't weigh in right from the get-go, so when did I start weighing in? So you normalize the data so that you're comparing as best you can, apples to apples. That's what I have highlighted here. And when I do that, I see my weight loss for this period of time is pretty much spot on. And then what you see over in 2022, 2023, I started on November 28th. I weighed myself then. I didn't wait. And then you see what happens data-wise is you lose all that's stored in your gut and all that water weight. And so it makes it look like you had this huge weight loss from a diet when you know your body's just purging all of that. And the other 2 times here that you see on the left, I didn't start tracking until all of that was purged. So I know that the data on the left is a realistic, is an outcome based on the diet, not just starting any program and doing that purge. So hence why I didn't track, you know, didn't highlight the first 2 weight loss periods in 2022, 23, because what's normalized here are the 8.9 and 9.9 pounds lost in those months. And again, that's consistent with what I'm experiencing right now. So let me tell you about having this data. By having this data, when I weighed in this morning, I actually thought this presentation was going to be, hey guys, I've added more dairy into my PSMF way of eating, and I think it's affecting slightly my results because I recalled better results than what I currently have, than 10 pounds. I remember something like 12 to 15 pounds a month. But because I had the data, I went back and said, oh, that's a false memory. I'm actually pretty much the same same rate that I have been in the past when you account for like I said, normalizing that data, making sure we're tracking at the same point in time in the journey, and not, you know, say weighing in the day I start a fast and then count all that as a weight loss, those 14 days, because you know you purged a whole bunch. So anyways, that was pretty interesting. It was very important for me to know that, because I had been wondering, because I have been on this cottage cheese, you know, I was influenced, and successfully so, because I'm really liking the recipes that I'm able to do. I couldn't have made chocolate chip cookies if I didn't use cottage cheese. So I'm very happy to see that, no, I don't believe dairy is slowing down my results. Whereas, like I said, if I didn't look at this data, that would have been my conclusion today. Okay, so enough on that. Let's go to the next one. You know I'm all about the data. So, so first, up at the top are my target macros. So this is what I target every single day. So it's probably a misnomer for me to call my way of eating PSMF, because I think the common vernacular for that is, you know, 0 fat on a couple of days a week, and hence why you don't do it 7 days a week. But I've explained in this channel before that I've copied from a couple different programs to come up with my program. And, you know, so for ideal protein that I've done before, the amount of fat per day was 30 grams. So hence where I got that from. And, you know, and that program, they said 30 grams was enough to be able to absorb fat soluble vitamins. So hence why I have that as one of my macros settings, I should say. And then typically I shoot for no more than 20 total carbs, definitely 20 net carbs. I've been a little higher than that. You're going to see that here in a minute, because this time around I have added more vegetables, more specifically cruciferous vegetables, because I feel like it. And then I've shared before how I've produced the protein. That comes from Precision PSMF by Dr. Carl Goldkamp, which is based on your ideal body weight. Not that you would ever be that, but it's one gram for every pound. So this is stating as a 5'8" female, my ideal body weight is 142 pounds. Hence, 142 grams of protein is my target for protein per day. And so anybody that's looking to do something like this, you would look up, same thing, your gender and your height, and find that, and then apply that. So that is an overview of my target macros. Some of you have heard this before. And then what you see here is you see my daily average over the span of time. So you see the 5 weeks that spanned October, and you can see here the calories. So this is an average per day for that week. And then you can see it week over week here, and you can check how it compares to my target. And you'll see, I was surprised actually when I was looking at this data that my protein wasn't right around 142, because I'm usually pretty good about that. But then I recall, like a couple of these weeks here, I was still fasting. So this first week I was still fasting. And then I think I had a couple of fasting days sprinkled within here. And hence why the protein's a little lower than 142. And then you can see the monthly average. So for month 1, this is what the daily average looked like over the span of this period of time, where these up here are the daily average over that week. So, obviously more data, the more it's immune to fluctuations. So, so this is, and again, this is the time I was fasting a couple of those days. So hence why you see the protein a little bit lower than you do in that next month. And so you see the data starting to normalize here. And because I've said I've added vegetables in, you see the total carbs being a little bit higher. And you see that reflected in the percentage as well. So that is what the data looks like for each of those periods. Let's get to the next one. If you wanted a breakdown by day that makes up the week, you can see that here. So here is the month of October. And you can see, so now I see it. I didn't have full fasting days. I just had, I guess, just days where you can see a few of them where I just wasn't that hungry. And hence it brings down the average. But anyways, by day you can see that, and I've got that spanned here, what it looks like for the day spanning this whole time. Okay, and I think I've got one more, yeah, for this month, and today's Monday the 1st, and you can see I've already done some meal planning for the next 5 days here. Okay. So now that we've gone through that data, let's go through. I've picked out some meal plans that I thought were sort of representative and just illustrative in terms of how I factor in the meals that I'm making, the recipes that I'm making into meals on my high protein, low fat, low carb way of eating. And one thing, all the recipes I make, I put to use. So recently, and you'll see this, but recently it took me, I don't know, 8 or 10 versions to nail a hot dog / sausage roll recipe. Well, I have that many recipes and I consume them all. So then I have to figure out in my plan, okay, how am I going to account for these 40 rolls? And so, but I do. But anyways, that's a factor that you guys wouldn't have to worry about. But if you make any of these recipes, you'll see here as we walk through this how I incorporate them. So I have a video on the breakfast quesadilla that I have a recipe on my tortilla, and then I put that tortilla to use in multiple ways. And one way was I made a breakfast quesadilla. So I have a video on that. So you'll see in this plan that I chose, you see how I have that. And then I had just a chicken stock soup with turkey breast as a second protein meal. And you can see what those macros are. And so you can see in this meal plan, I had 4 protein meals this day. And then I have a recipe video on the broccoli cheese stuffed chicken breast. So you see how I factor that in to this meal plan. And then my typical staple for a dessert, my keto ice cream. And so that's how I finished off the day for my 4th protein meal. And then you can see how that compares. Look at how beautifully that lines up to my targeted daily macros. So we're going to go through a number of these. I think I have 20 or so of these to go through. And I'm hoping that by doing so, it pulls all of this. If you're looking to follow a program like this and you find some of my recipes interesting that you want to incorporate, this is showing you how you pull them together into a meal plan. So again, this is the first time I'm doing this of showing you how I incorporate those recipes over an extended period of time. So let's get to the next one. So I hope you find this segment helpful. So the next one is, I don't know, I guess I was full because I had 5 extra grams of fat that I went a little less on the protein. But anyways, here is where I had a cottage cheese protein shake. I have a video that I made on that. I also have a video on making the sandwich out of air fryer ground chicken. And that was once again with the tortilla. So I have a video on that, and so you can see and hear how I've incorporated that in the meal plan for this day. And then I had just a cup of chicken stock. And then I had, and again, this is another recipe video that I put on the channel, which is the crusted Parmesan chicken. This is the one where I introduce you to the Noble Made garlic Parmesan wing sauce. And then I have a protein bar that once again is a recipe video on this channel, so you can see how all this comes together. Now that I see this, one of the techniques I use all the time, and you'll see this in subsequent meal plans, is what I should have done is I should have added a little bit of chicken or turkey to this here to hit my 142 grams of protein without adding fat or carbs. Or what I do is I could have done an egg white scramble. So either one of those, or I could have done my carnivore rice and added it to the soup. So these are techniques I use all the time when I need a lean protein with no fat, no carbs, when I've maxed out on those macros. Okay, so let's go through another one. So here's another one. This, once again, is a recipe video. This was my first one where I did the breakfast sandwich with the silky eggs that I called the Korean breakfast. This is the one where I used the Amy Lou chicken sausage and the cheese. So this had a higher fat count. And then you can see for 19 grams in that first protein meal how I accommodated that for the rest of the day. So meal 2 was 6 ounces of turkey. So turkey being super lean, I didn't, significantly add to the fat count. And then for my last protein meal, I had once again, this is a recipe video that has spanned over this period of time on the channel, the broccoli cheese stuffed chicken breast. And 135 grams of protein, so, and 35 grams of fat that day. So there was no dessert this day. Okay, here's another one. So this was a scrambled egg white with the Amy Lou chicken sausage, and then I made bread rounds. So this is where I made a breakfast sandwich out of just egg whites and the chicken sausage. There was no cheese here. So it was a way I controlled the fat. So this was just only 1/3 of my fat allotment for the day. And then here I incorporated again the chicken stock with turkey breast. So super high protein, super lean. And then had the crusted Parmesan chicken again because I knew I was getting fat from the Parmesan. So I accounted for that by having this lean, super lean protein meal as meal number 2. And then I had cabbage as a vegetable, and you see how beautifully this day aligned to my macros. 141 grams of protein, 29 grams of carbs, of fat, and 15 total carbs. So beautiful. This next one, this is where I made the cottage cheese flatbread. So I had a turkey and cheese sandwich as my first protein meal. And this was, once again, that's a recipe video, how I made the cottage cheese flatbreads. And that to me is the fastest way if I want some sort of bread, some sort of bread replacement for a sandwich. That's my go-to because I can whip that up so fast. And then I had a turkey sandwich This was with the bread rounds I've made, and so that was that's a recipe video, but then I also bring it back when I made the Korean breakfast sandwich, because I used those in that one. And then I had the ground chicken, the air fryer one with the tortilla here, again this day. Then I had Brussels sprouts as a vegetable with a little olive oil, and the garlic parmesan wing sauce, so I had combined that. And then my keto ice cream, and you can see how that works out. Again, I don't know why, I must not have been hungry, but I typically am not light on protein. So again, I could have easily added a little more turkey here without adding to the fat, or an egg white scramble to get 142 grams of protein. Okay, so here again, egg white scramble with the Amy Lou 1.5 links. And then here's the flat bread, so that sandwich. And then what was newly introduced here, and again, this is a recipe video. Actually, I don't think this one is posted, so I think this is going to come out after this video. But I've got a ground beef and cabbage, so you see how I factored that into this meal plan. And then I had the ready-to-drink protein drink, which once again I think is, well, you saw me make the Jello out of it, but here I just had it as a shake, and I show you how I make ice cream. That's an upcoming video. So so this actually is going to be released before you see that. So actually that was the ice cream. It wasn't just a shake. It was turning that shake into an ice cream, which is an upcoming video, like I said. So this one, again, I made that same sandwich. Then I had some turkey because I was light on protein. And then this is one of the versions that, so this is the one that was posted on Thanksgiving, one of my poultry and sour cream bakes. And then I had cabbage as a side dish to this one. And then here's where I had half of a ready to drink. Oh, I know what I did here. No, this was half of a chocolate ready to drink protein shake. And I have batch made Maria Emmerich's brownies, so I had 2 of those as my dessert, and you can see again how nicely this aligns to my macros. Let's see, egg white scramble. This one I included because I wanted to show you there's times where, you know, I have to go out and have either a business meeting or a special occasion or what have you, and what I will typically do is I will have a filet with asparagus, and then account for, you know, if there's olive oil on the asparagus or butter or whatever, like I did here. And then in this case, I came back and had the keto ice cream. But look at how beautifully, in spite of going out to dinner, how beautifully that aligned to my macros. In fact, I should have had a little bit more fat here. There probably was a little bit of olive oil on the asparagus I didn't account for, so I'm sure I met my fat target for that day. But again, that's why I included this. Here's another. This is where I used the egg whites, but this time I wanted to lower the fat because I had fat coming from another source, which I'll show you. So here's an example of where I wanted a breakfast sausage, but I made my own. So I used the ground, the Pine Manor ground extra lean, and used my breakfast sausage seasoning. And so again, this is a recipe video on the channel. But this is how I only had 1 gram of fat in that meal because I knew I needed that allotment for later in my meal plan. And then my flatbread turkey and cheese sandwich. And then this was, I'd been shopping out of my freezer, which I still am. So I had the Amy Lou Italian style chicken meatballs. So that had 12 grams of fat in it. Then I made noodles out of the improved carnivore rice recipe. So this was a pasta dish. So that had 16 grams of fat in and of itself. And then I tried Maria Emmerich's 1 minute brownie that had 6 grams of fat. So 31 grams, hence why I wanted that very lean breakfast sausage up here to a lot for the plans, the meal the protein meals for the rest of the day, and look at how beautifully that aligns to my macros. Okay, I hope this is helpful, guys, because I told you I had a number of these. So here's where I did an egg white, and I added a little bit of cheese to that. So this is like 7 to 8 grams to the egg white, and give it a little more flavor. And then again, chopping out of my freezer, I had more chicken meatballs, but this time it was the Amy Lou basil and Parmesan, which are phenomenal. And I have made a video on that because I love this so much. And I think that's a video coming after this one. So treat this as a coming attraction. And then I had a brownie a la mode, which again is a coming attraction. I have a video that isn't yet public that I have posted. But you see how I incorporated that here, all those in. Look at how beautiful that aligns to my target macros. Okay, we got a few more here. So here's an egg white scramble with a half a protein shake ready to drink. And then I recently released the Jello 2 ways. So this is making use of one of those. So you see how I incorporate that into my plan. And then I had, once again, because I was shopping out of my freezer, I had to use up those meatballs with the pasta. So I included that here. And then the keto ice cream, and you see again how beautifully that aligns to my macros. The next one, so this time, the reason I included this meal plan is I have recently released this video where I revisited my Korean breakfast sandwich, that silky egg one, where I eliminated a lot of the fat. So I cut down the fat in that sandwich by more than half, and it was because I had another fat source, so I needed to account for that. I had to make room for that. So I cut out the cheese in this, and I used more egg white, and I changed the bread on this, and I used the homemade extra lean breakfast sausage rather than the Amy Lou that has more fat. Then I made use of the other type of Jello that I made, the one that I made with water versus the Nuri protein shake. So that's how I factored that in. And then I have this pasta dish. So yes, I have the pasta here with the basil and Parmesan, but this time I added broccoli with a little beef stock. And again, this is a video because this meal was so delicious that I actually made it into a video. So another coming attraction. And then I had a gingerbread protein ice cream. And again, look at how nice those macros line up to my targets. Okay, I think just a couple more here. So here's where I'm making use of the breakfast sandwich again. And then shopping again out of my freezer, I had the andouille Amy Lou sausage. So I have this chicken sausage. This is where I perfected the buns, so you'll be seeing that. So I had that here with the side dish of broccoli and a little olive oil because I needed some fat for the day. And then I included this to show you I had a chocolate chip cookie, so that's how I fit this in. Then I've also recently released over the weekend the Jello mode recipe, the one that I come up with a recipe that replaces the Jello sugar-free gelatin box and turn that into a Jello mold. So this is one of those servings. And then I had half of a hot gingerbread drink here. And again, look at how beautiful that aligns to my macros. So I hope this is really helping, guys, with all the recipe videos that I'm putting out and how I apply them to my meal plans. All right, let's see. This one here I included because this is the English muffin. This is where I made, I had peanut butter and jelly on the English muffin. So again, these are all recipes that I made. And then I had my serving of breakfast sausage with that. And actually they were each 2 ounces. So I had 2 of them for 4 ounces. And then this was another time where I had an event out. I think this might have been my sister's birthday. And so this is how I accounted for a restaurant meal and what I had. And then I actually brought this to the restaurant my chocolate chip cookie, and that was my dessert. And again, look at how nicely that fits into the macros. And this might be the last one, or we may have one more here. But this one here is, I had a breakfast sandwich with egg and egg white with the chicken breakfast sausage. I just didn't have any bread for this. So I had just the silky eggs by itself, no bread. And then again, here's the incorporation of the Jell-O made with the nuri. And I needed to use that up, so you see how I had a pretty good protein meal of that here. And then here's another coming attraction. This is a recipe video that's coming where I make sloppy joes with another Noble Made product called Sloppy Joseph's. This was excellent. Actually, I take that back. I called an audible here. See how these are zeros? I did not have that. What I did is I had the andouille sausage with one of my rolls here. So yeah, and then 2 chocolate chip cookies. And again, here are the macros for the day. And here's where I include the Sloppy Joseph right here. And then here's the andouille sausage with one of those buns. And then this was another time where I had to eat out. So this is what I had. And again, look at how beautifully that aligns to my macros in spite of going to a restaurant. So you see, you can do this even when you're at a restaurant. And this, I believe, is the final one. So again, chopping out of my freezer, I had the andouille sausage I needed to use up with the buns. I have my chocolate chip cookies. And this was a day where I wanted to just use up those sausages, so I had it for both meals. Okay? And then again, look at how nicely that works out with my macros. And I lied. I know I have at least one more. So here's where I had an egg white scramble where I needed a little bit of fat, so I had a little butter. And I have a new loaf bread coming out that's Wonder Bread-like, and that's this one here that I used as toast. So I put a little butter on that toast. And then I had the peanut butter and the jam that I made. This is the one before I made the homemade one. So this was with Good. And then on my bread. So this is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So you see how I factored that in. And then again, I had the andouille sausage on the bun and the Jell-O mold. And you see how that fit into that day's meal plan. That day's macros, I should say. And then this one, I've come up with a pretzel roll with turkey and cheese. And that is another coming attraction. That's a recipe video. And then the poultry and sour cream bake that I've published already by the time you're seeing this. And this time I needed a little bit of fat, so I used a little bit of the Carnivore Crisp beef butter. Added that to the casserole. And then I included this because I had 2 of my peanut butter cookies, which I believe is getting posted tonight. So I think there's 2 videos coming. It'll be this one and then my peanut butter cookie one. And this meal plan had those, and I am just loving those. I've had them in the freezer, and I took them out, I defrosted, and they are so darn good. They're so soft, just delicious. But look at how beautiful it fits into my macros here. And this might be the last one. Yes, this is the last one. So again, chopping out of my freezer, I have these hot dogs that are in there. So I'm going to use the buns. So I'm using up all those buns. You'll see the recipe, how many versions I came up with. So I have all these in the fridge, and so I've got all these meal plans to use them up. And then I've got these frozen hot dog. I haven't had a hot dog in forever. I don't know that I've had a hot dog as an adult, but these are super clean. It's just beef. So anyways, I'm going to have that on one of the buns. And then this is going to be a video. So this is a chicken au jus. and I'm using one of the buns. So this will be a video, but this is how I'm factoring it into my meal plan, to my macros. And then I'm also going to make a vegetable bake just out of I'm going to do the poultry and sour cream bake, but not add poultry. I'm just going to do it with the cauliflower. So this will be a side dish for here. And then have a peanut butter cookie. And again, you can see how that nicely fits in to my macros here. And days like this, I'll have my hot chocolate that I have as a video on the channel. Super, super, super low calorie. Sorry guys, I actually deleted the audio on this slide, not realizing it was the last one. So anyways, I included this meal plan to show you, again, this involves shopping out of my freezer. So I have these Thousand Hills sausage, beef and cheddar sausage. It's beef that I want to use up. So that has one link. This meal plan has one link. And then because there's a good amount of fat in my plan this day, I needed lean protein. So hence why you see the 8 egg white scramble with that sausage. And then I have some fillets in the freezer that I need to use up. So I have that here with a side of broccoli. And these egg whites, I'll have another scramble. And then you see the peanut butter cookie. And a lot of times what I do with something like this is I'll have a hot drink, whether it's gingerbread or hot chocolate or apple pie or what have you, depending upon what sweet treat I'm having. That hot drink alone is a sweet treat. Anyways, so this is the final example I have of meal plans. I hope this was very helpful. Like I said, I haven't done a segment like this before where I've tied together my recipe videos as extensively with my meal plans. So if you're planning to follow a way of eating like this, I hope this was helpful, or at a minimum showed you, if you're going to make any of these recipes, how you could fit them into your way of eating. So that'll do it for this video. I'll make another one like this at the, I guess on New Year's Day, on the 1st. Probably, given that's a holiday, probably won't come out till the next day. But anyways, that'll be the next time I do this video. For those that asked about this, I hope this was helpful. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. And you'll hear from me in the next video. See you then.